can you ask mommy if she's direct quote making googly eyes at me yet? On Okay. Ah, Mike. Okay. Uh, so I've been asked to give my sermon again because my apparently the recording, there was something going on with it. For anyone who's watching this video, then this is a sermon specifically on the gospel reading John 20, 19 to 31, specifically dealing with Thomas and his doubts about whether or not Jesus has been resurrected. Um, so, beginning with the sermon now. Last Sunday, in Aaron's sermon, something that stuck in my mind was him saying that Peter, for whom I am named, is one of the apostles who were meant to see ourselves in the most. And I thought that was pretty cool. However, when I sat down and I looked at today's gospel reading, which I had to write this sermon about, something else struck me even more. Today's gospel reading has to do with, as a friend of mine from school put it, the original Doubting Thomas. And as I was reading through the gospel in preparation for the sermon, I can see a whole lot of Thomas in me. And I'm not proud to say it, I haven't been coming to church as frequently in recent months, much like how Thomas would not with the other disciples when Jesus came to them the first time. And I also find myself doubtful of a lot of things. I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions, and that in and of itself is not a problem. In fact, it's really useful as a thing to do in today's world. Ooh, another camera. Especially as a student who wants to become a scientist of some sort, asking a lot of questions is quite beneficial for my learning. But my practice of questioning and doubting everything can be more of a detriment when it comes to God. So, what am I to do? What are we to do when we're living in a world where the best way, and perhaps the only way, to believe in something is to scientifically prove that it's true? How can a young person like me hope to grow up to be a scientist while still being a Christian? How can we, who have not seen, still believe? I have a couple thoughts, and I would like to share them with you. Now, I know there's a lot of people who are raised in Christianity and don't really know a world without it, and that's how they come by their belief. Their parents pass it on down to them. There's also people who have some profound experience and are able to find their way from that experience to Christianity as another way of finding faith. And I'm sure there's a whole lot more that I can't really think of right now or when I was writing this sermon that are good ways of someone to find their way to Christianity as well, but I didn't think of them. There's at least two, and there's probably more. I'm kind of in a combination of both groups. My mother was in church here, but we're recording it, and my dad wasn't really. He was actually online, but that's just because I was doing a cool thing. I was giving a sermon rather than belief in God. They've both passed down their religious views to me. My mother passed down a certain amount of faith, and my father passed down what you might call a healthy dose of doubt in everything. And it was pretty cool that he was watching the sermon. I also encounter a wide variety of religious viewpoints when I go to school. I go to a Jewish school. I have friends from several different denominations of Judaism. I have friends who are avowedly atheist, and I have friends who are Catholic. So it's quite a mix of viewpoints that I'm exposed to. About 5 years ago, then I had decided that I wasn't really into this whole God thing. And that was that. Jesus became to me like the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny. And I think that's a bit of a mixed blessing. On the one hand, not believing in something, not believing isn't that great, if I do say so myself. But I think it was a very good thing that I had that experience, because without it, I would not have been able to go from not believing to believing. And this happened about a year ago. I think it's a really powerful story for anyone who might be filled with similar doubts that I was. I did not have some great existential mountaintop experience, but rather I was doing my homework. I know, right? And I was doing my homework for a Jewish studies class, and some of the questions were about God, as you might expect, being a Jewish studies class and all. And I don't exactly recall what the assignment was, but just the train of thought that it set me down. And I'll try and recount it to you as directly as I can. So I kind of started with, how do we justify the existence of God? This is the idea that I'm supposed to believe in something that I can't really see or hear, and just because my mom told me to. That doesn't really sound like such a great plan to me. On the other hand, though, surely I believed when I was much younger. I love godly play, and I love learning about Noah's Ark and Jacob wrestling with God. Those guys were the coolest. And I was truly comforted by the parables of what Jesus said, the good shepherd, and even the tax collectors could be forgiven. I found that so funny. Is that gone now just because I don't believe? Perhaps I should look to other people. It seems strange that of all of my friends at school, the happiest ones are those who believe in something, whether it's God and Jesus, or just the God of the Old Testament, or something else entirely. But they seem glad to talk about it when it comes up in class, and everyone seems happy to be there, and not everyone seems happy to be there. The people who don't believe in anything, who are just there because they have to be there, they don't seem very happy to be there. Maybe there's something to it. Everyone at church is always super nice to me, and a lot of really good things have been done in the name of God. There's a lot of great ministries done at church, and I've even volunteered for some of them. But still, how can I be sure God exists if I can't see him, or hear him, or touch him, or have some scientific way of proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that I have a good reason to believe, that I can point to something and say, that there's the reason I believe? But then again, why do I need such a proof? There are things in science that I can't understand, and I just take it on faith that they work that way, so why can't it be that way with God as well? Still, it's hard to make the conscious choice to believe in something that I can't prove, but that's the moment when I first began to want to. So now I can say I believe in God, and I can say so proudly and happily, and I've made the choice to try to believe. But that being said, if I was given the opportunity to prove scientifically through some experiment that I could be sure one way or another God existed or God doesn't exist, I would probably take that choice to prove it in an instant. But I hope I can get to the point in my faith where I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel that I need the proof. I'm still a lot like Thomas, but I hope to be able to believe without feeling like I should have proof. Blessed are those who have not seen and still believe. Oh, and then I rang this bell thing, but there's no bell. Oh, well, the papers are good enough. You can kind of hear it.